So yeah, I'd take my kick boat and I'd explore a lot of those rivers. A lot of times just leaving my bike at the takeout. I'd do a float trip, ride my bike back to my truck. And eventually it got a little old. It was fun, but I wanted to just get out and meet some people that were also into doing trips like this. So I found a Facebook page, KBFTN, which is a local bass club here in Middle Tennessee, and they had tournaments in a lot of the different lakes, mostly Old Hickory, Percy Priest, Cumberland River. But a lot of people on that page also did a lot of river trips like I was doing. So met a lot of friends through that who I had float trips to do with. And you know, eventually those local tournaments branched out. I started doing more regional and more national tournaments. Really, before I got into tournaments, my focus was going to be to guide a lot of these creeks and rivers and stuff out of kick boats or kayaks. But one thing led to another, and next thing you know, I'm doing tournaments all across the country, and that's been my primary focus the last 5 years or so. A lot of these tournaments are on river systems such as the Susquehanna River or the New River, Upper Mississippi River. So a lot of these kayak tournaments are really orientated towards these areas where a lot of bass boats can't really utilize the way a kayak can. Yeah, so through the river fishing I learned in California and throughout Middle Tennessee, where I really got into the you know, exploring a lot of those rivers and eventually got into the tournaments. A lot of that river experience really helped me out, developed me into the river fisherman I am now. So when I compete on a lot of these national trails, you know, a lot of those competitions are on these river systems, like I said, like the Susquehanna and the New. All right, number one, it's gonna be a buzz bait. You know, a lot of my skirted baits, such as chatterbait, spinnerbait, buzz baits, swim jigs, stuff like that, I make myself. I've been doing it for a while. I order the components from Cast Industries there and buy all the different materials. And by building myself, I really get a good understanding of the key different elements and what it takes to make a bait work and make a bait, you know, not work so well. With these buzz baits, I really keep them pretty simple. Keep it to a 1/4 ounce and a 3/8. And both of them have similar blades where the blade or the wire through the blade goes through the middle. So instead of like an offset where it would be completely to one side, so the wire goes through the blade. And the components of a buzz bait, basically, you got the head with the hook, just a jig head, you have the skirt, and then you have just a wire, a blade, and a rivet. But the different things that make it up are going to be the thickness of the wire. With a buzz bait, I always like to use the thickest wire possible. Unlike like a spinner bait where you really need to utilize some of the vibration from the blades, and those thinner wires really have their advantages. With a buzz bait, that's not really necessary. So I like one that's going to be really durable. I'm throwing them on braid, either 30 or 40 pounds. I like a really thick wire. And like I said, with the buzz baits I build out, they only have this single blade, gold, silver, or sometimes I use like a black one, like an anodized black finish. But you really want to make sure that the blade is hitting this pop rivet, and that's where a lot of the squeak's going to come from. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard, you know, that noise, that squeak is really what differentiates a really good buzz bait from one that maybe doesn't work so well. And they take some time in getting that noise, you know, or you can kind of speed up the process. You can put it in a fan or just hold your hand outside the window. Or another thing I do is on that flat side of that rivet, I'll get a little serrated knife and just put some scores. I'll score that as well as the very bottom part of this blade here.